Hello. Okay, I'm sitting down in this video because I've just been at work all day and I've been at an event for like 4 or 5 hours and I'm tired, so I'm sitting down. Hence why I'm also in a polo, which is a little bit formal for a YouTube video. But I, at the start of the year, asked all of you, my subscribers, my followers across different platforms as well, for what one book I should read throughout 2024. What one book would you recommend I think is going to be absolutely banging throughout 2024? What I then did is I picked 12 of the most popular and I assigned them each to a month. The way I assigned them was essentially, do I already have a copy of this book? Do I need to pre-order it? Can I get it from Libby? How long is that going to take where I get my audiobooks from, etc. And then I put them into order based on that. We're now halfway through the year. It's currently July, the 8th of July when I'm recording this. I'm not sure quite when you'll see this, but it's the 8th of July now. So I've read 6 of the 12 books that I'm going to be reading this year based on your recommendations. And spoiler, they're all bloody brilliant. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to run through the 6. They are then essentially going to be some great recommendations for you. A lot of these will have featured in my best books of the year video that I did a couple of videos ago. So you'll recognize a lot of these, but I'm going to go over them again because you may not have seen that video. If you haven't, feel free to go watch it after this one. But let's go through the 6 books that I've read that you recommended me this year. So the first book was The Whalebone Theatre by Joanna Quinn. This is a book about a young woman or young girl, very young girl actually, when we start out, who essentially I think her mother passes away. She gets a stepmother. The stepmother then has children with her dad, and then she has stepchildren, and she loves it. She loves having siblings. But it tells the story of one day they find a whalebone carcass at a beach. They commandeer it and they say, we want to make a theatre out of this, hence the Whalebone Theatre. It is a really, really good book. This was the first book that you recommended to me, or the first book I chose to read in January, and I thought it was fantastic. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 over on my blog. Really, really good writing. Some really brave things were done in this book as well. So this is actually Joanna Quinn's debut novel. So if you don't know what that means, the first book she wrote. And there's some really brave kind of elements in here. Not only is she not afraid to, kill off some pretty big characters, but also there are some kind of newsletters in here. I'm trying to find them as I speak. Like newsletters, there's pamphlets and different forms of media, which is something that's quite brave to do. There's also kind of diary entries in here. So I'm just going to quickly show you a diary entry and different forms in that sense as well. Flossie's diary. There was definitely some sort of pamphlet in here, which I cannot find now. But, the bravery on a debut novel to say, right, I want it to appear like this, and then go to your editor or go to the publisher and say, I want it to appear like this in my debut novel. I am a brand new writer. This is the first time I've done this, but do it for me. I've got a lot of time for that. Really, really lovely story. So essentially, as I said, the kids, they get this Whalebone Theatre and they perform some plays. World War II, then here's the World War II. Let's get the right time. Not sure which war. One of the wars hits and it affects their lives. They go off and do different things in the wars, depending on what they're good at. And then that affects their lives quite a lot. But The Whalebone Theatre was the first book I read in January. Really, really good. So a great start. As I told you already, these are all fantastic. So you're going to hear me say some positive things about all of these books. So don't expect me to say anything negative, really. Whalebone Theatre by Joanna Quinn was the first book on this list. So let's see what's next. Plow! The next book is The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. Now, this again is another debut novel. Another novel where the author was like, that's the first thing I'm ever going to publish. I hope people like it. I did. Jenny herself is lovely. I've interacted with her a couple of times on social media. I follow her. She's really sweet. And she was shocked, I think, how well this did. Not because she had no confidence that it was any good. But I think it's just everyone's shocked when the very first thing you put out is brilliant, and it is brilliant. So the List of Suspicious Things is about a young girl called Miv during 1979, the height of the Yorkshire Ripper killings. Now, what's happening is essentially the Yorkshire Ripper is at his peak. He's teasing the police at this point, I think, sending them letters, all this sort of stuff. They've brought in measures to make sure that women don't go out after certain times, etc., and they're not allowed to wear suggestive clothing. A few things I think at the time, or I know at the time, people thought, okay, why are we pushing back our thoughts on women, our progress on equality, because this man is killing only women? Anyway, that's a completely different story and a different book, so I'm not quite sure why I mentioned that. Just always something I think about and remember watching a documentary. Miv decides she wants to try and find the Yorkshire Ripper. Therefore, she uses her lists to try and find him. So she writes lists of places She writes lists of people that she's suspicious of. The lists of places are places that she wants to investigate. And could they be the murder place? Could they be where he hangs out? Could they be where he's next going to do his killings? Spoiler, and I don't think it's a big spoiler, but she doesn't find the Yorkshire Ripper because that's not the story. What is the story is that she does find out a lot about other people around her town. A lot of people that she had suspicions of. A lot of people who a lot of other people are too afraid to speak out about. And uncover some things that just generally aren't, I don't know, were taboo in the town. Everybody just didn't talk about them. And that's the really heartwarming moment in it. There's kind of a progress story in here as well. There's a coming of age. It's all really lovely. But unfortunately, what does happen is there is a moment, and I was shocked that Jenny did this again in the debut novel, but there is a moment where I thought, oh my God, as if you just did that. That's very brave, also heart-wrenching. I'm not trying to spoil it too much, but if you read it, you'll get to the point you'll be like, oh my God, as if that's happened. Another really, really solid debut novel from Jenny Godfrey, and Joanna Gwynne having the other one as well, not as in Jenny Godfrey's has two debut novels. But anyway, yeah, The List of Suspicious Things, another banger, and also stunning front cover. Also, this copy, I don't know if they're all the same, has some really thick paper, smells phenomenal, and this is like cardboard. Don't know if you can quite hear it, so it's like almost like a cardboard covering, so to hold it feels lovely. Pow! The next book is The Sea State, or just Sea State, in fact, by James Simpson. Now, this book is very much a light ring magnet, as you can see there, but Sea State by James Simpson was a book, again, recommended to me, that I think was lesser known. As you can see, this isn't kind of within the same shape and size as a regular book. It's a lot thinner, it's a lot taller. It's very much an indie published novel. Jo, who is J.M. Simpson, is lovely. Again, I follow her on social media. She's very, very nice, very sweet. She's very funny on her platforms as well. So that obviously did not affect my opinion of the book, but, you know, it always helps. Sea State is about two people mainly, Doug and Jessie, a few months ago. Doug and Jessie essentially has had some difficult past. She was at a job previously where something very, very dark happened to her. And so she's moved away from the job and she's moved place. She moves to work with Doug. Doug is the head of this kind of lifeboat rescue service that they both work with now. Doug is also having problems at home. He is struggling at home with his wife. His wife just doesn't want to be there. She doesn't seem to want to be part of the family. She's not that interested in the children anymore. And it's all just kind of like, why? And this forces them to then come closer together. And they build up this friendship that essentially makes them feel both comfortable. But what you find out from quite early on is the person or people or whatever that attacked Jessie at the very start or in her previous job is still around. There are these tiny little kind of paragraphs at the end of some of the sentences where it's like, I'm watching her, I'm looking forward to seeing her again. All these sort of things, which is really creepy, which kept me on edge, which I really, really enjoyed. And this is the start of a series. Now, I'm not sure who the series kind of involves, whether it is Jessie and Doug going out and doing things, or it's just Castleby, the place that they're in. I don't know, but I do have the second book ready to read, and I'm looking forward to it. But this one was fantastic as well. So if you're looking for something smaller that maybe it's a little bit less known, not something massive, a lot of these books are very, very Instagram book talk heavy, Sea State might be a better choice for you because it was just a fantastic novel. And again, I think a debut novel from Jo. I don't know if it's her debut, but it's the first in the series, so possibly. But yeah, really, really good. So Sea State by J.M. Simpson. So the book I read in April was In Memorium by Alice Wynne. Again, another book that I think pretty much everybody on social media has heard of. It's a book about two men or boys. They start off who grow up in I think it's a private school, I don't know, boarding school, some sort of slightly posh school anyway. They both realise they're gay. I think one of them is trying to deny it. The other one is this kind of butch, I don't know, macho sort of bully and doesn't want anyone to know it. But essentially then what happens, similar to kind of in the Whalebone Theatre, the war comes along, or a war comes along. I think this one's World War II. World War One, this is 1914s. This is World War One. So comes along and changes everything. They are split up as human beings. They are put into different areas of the world. They are forced to do different things, changes people to adapt to the war, as it were. And it afflicts them both in very different ways. And so it tells the story of, as I said, them before the war, their journey, their coming out, their understanding of each other. Then their time during the war where they're just constantly in fear of not being able to reunite with one another. And then after war and the changes and how it affects the war, both affects them both physically, but also mentally, and how it affects their relationship and how it affects their thoughts on each other and all this sort of stuff. It's a lovely book. It's a heartbreaking book. It's a story about true, proper love, not the love where it's like romance and, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not with you. It's so hard because you're so attractive. These sort of books. I don't want none of that. I want books about two people that really deeply love each other, but kind of deny it because of what society thinks about them as people, but also possibly because how they know others might react and the disappointment that others might have in them. But this is a proper love story, a true romance. In Memorium by Alice Wynne was my April reader, book of the month. What the hell? Follower book of the month that you guys picked out for me. Really, really good. So yeah, another absolute banger of a recommendation on this list. As I said at the start, these are all fantastic. So don't expect me to sit here with any of these books and say they're bad. But again, if you're looking for a list of books to read, this is the video you want to watch because this has been brilliant. This book is brilliant as well. So In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. So then the book that I read 2 months ago now, back in May, was The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Now, spoiler alert, this might go on to be my favourite book of the year overall, because it's just utterly fantastic. It tells the story of Cyril, who is at the very start of the book actually in a womb, which is a really interesting read, actually quite fun. And it tells the story of his mum, and then he is birthed, and then his story. He, from a young age, realises that he is gay, and essentially it's 1960s, I believe, Ireland, and you literally cannot be gay during that time or in that place. People will beat you, people will spit on you, and you'll be treated like dirt. I think, in fact, it's even a crime. But it tells of his growing up. It tells of the world adapting around him, of his massive difficulties as a result of his sexuality, and as a result of not being, I don't know, he doesn't stop himself from being gay. I know you don't stop yourself, but he never properly kind of just, I don't know, hides it away 100%. He finds ways to make sure that he can live a happy life in secret, and then maybe a not so happy life on the front end. But it's utterly brilliant. It's one of those books where I was reading it and I just had so much emotion flowing through me. It takes a lot for a book to make me feel not only attached to the characters, because the characters are bloody brilliant. There's humour in this. There's like, you'll cry during this. There's bits where you'll be really pissed off with characters. It's fantastic. It's got every emotion you can think of. And it goes through a journey, it goes through a lifetime. And I love books that go through lifetimes. And a lot of these books you'll notice, maybe not quite so with Sea State or with The List of Suspicious Things, but a lot of books that I'm utterly obsessed with are books that span decades, tell the story and the journey of a lifetime. Because essentially I think that's what we're all searching for. That's a deeper conversation for me to have there. But, you know, there's an idea in here, but it takes you from Cyril, as I said, being in the womb, right through to his very, very late years, kind of modern day, a bit like maybe 10 years or so ago. But the changes in what society thinks on his sexuality as well. And it's just lovely. It's just fantastic. I just read the end of this book and just wanted to kind of like hold it and be like, I absolutely adored this. One of my favourite books I've ever read, and definitely my favourite book of the year so far. We'll see. I'm currently reading a book that's really, really good, but we'll be talking about that in a future video. Actually, again, this book I'm talking about now is actually another of your follower picks. If you don't know, you can follow me on Instagram, and I have it pinned what my follower picks are throughout the year, and then the rating I gave them as well. But anyway, that's The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. If you read any book from this list, read this one. It's amazing. So then the most recent book that I read from this list that you lot suggested was Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Now this is apparently a loose retelling of David Copperfield, which I've never read, I've never understood, I have no knowledge of what that's about. Probably a lack of education on my part, but realistically, it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect my opinion on this book. This was fantastic. Depressing as hell, but also at the same time not that depressing. I'll tell you for why. Basically, Demon Copperhead is about Demon, who grows up in the foster system. He's got a drug-addicted mother. He's got an abusive stepfather. He goes, as I said, into the foster system with some less than favourable people looking after him in the system. Pretty much everything negative that could happen to a human being happens to Demon in this book. And that is the depressing element. However, Barbara Kingsolver managed to write it away, and apparently this is an influence from David Copperfield in a way that's got humour to it. There's a lot of kind of dark humour in here, there's a lot of one-liners, there's a lot of moments where I believe she's trying to make you understand that Demon himself, as a result of having grown up in such a dark environment, has to see the light in things that maybe others wouldn't see the light in, because that's the more norm for them. I don't know if I've phrased that correctly, but I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. Demon Copperhead is a wonderful book. It's wonderfully written. It's, as I said, quite dark, quite demoralizing a lot of the time. A lot of the reviews I heard from people were saying they couldn't do it halfway through. They put it down because it was just like one bad thing after another happened to him. But in the end, it just turns out to be one of those books where you think, I bloody love that. It was brilliant. It tells a tale of Demon, as I said, growing up. I don't want to give away too much, but over a couple of decades, and some pretty much everything bad that could happen to him happens to him. Anytime anything good happens, something bad happens that makes it not so happy. So if you're not somebody that likes that sort of thing, maybe don't pick it up. But do understand that Barbara Kingsolver was written in a way where there's humor inlaid in this. There are some one-liners in this, and it's written in a way where it's just accepted that those dark things happen. But another absolutely fantastic book from this list of books that you lot have recommended throughout the year that I think has just been, these are the highlights of my month so far. Yes, there's been a few others that have been brilliant as well, but these 6 books that I've read so far have been brilliant. This final one was Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. So let's hold up all the books together and we can talk through all of them as a group. So here they are. This is all of the books that you guys suggested so far anyway. There are 6 more to go, one of which I'm reading at the moment because it is now July. So we've got the Whalebone Theatre, which I read in January, The List of Suspicious Things from February, Sea State, which was my March read, In Memoriam was my May read, April read, sorry, The Heart's Invisible Furies was my May read, and then Demon Copperhead I just finished in June and was brilliant. Really, really, all of the books have been fantastic. As I said, The Heart's Invisible Furies is probably my favourite. I think some of the debut novels in here are utterly brilliant. It's amazing that they are debut novels, really, considering how good they are. I'm definitely going to be doing this same thing again next year where I ask you guys to recommend me some books because this really pulled out the stop so far. It's made it a fantastic reading year for me. And yeah, I'm really, really happy about that. So I've got 6 more books to come. As you know, if you go over to my Instagram, or if you didn't know, if you go over to my Instagram, you can check out what those 6 books are. It's my pinned post. I post reviews of them all the time. I'm always happy to take book recommendations as well from people, though I have a disgustingly large TBR left of me right now that I need to get through, or I don't know, give some books to some charity shops or some people or something, I don't know. But anyway, these are my 6 books. Have you read any? Let me know in the comments below. Which ones did you enjoy? I know a lot of people enjoyed Demon Copperhead from one of my previous videos I posted. Did you? Have you read any? Did you enjoy them? Here they are. I will see you guys in the next video. Oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe as well, because if you got this far, you really got to subscribe by now, because that would be the icing on the cake.